Oh, what's up, guys? How's it going today? We're talking about Hex Crowd Control. Hex that ensures that lesser than you are properly herded. The entity blocks a window for 20 seconds after a survivor performs a rush vault through it. Hex persists as long as the related Hex totem is standing. So, is this perk good? The answer is no. Effectively, it is a worse bamboozle. The only upside this has is that it can be triggered multiple times. You can have multiple loops blocked. That's the only benefit. And it's for only 20 seconds. So, what's wrong with it? Well, it's only blocked for 20 seconds. The survivor is the one that triggers it. So they've already gotten through that, so they can continue to loop anyway. This perk is really only very powerful on TL walls, which are already fair. There's no mind game that you can do like you can do with Bamboozle. You can't catch them off guard with Hex Crowd Control. You can't mind game them to come back to the window as you're vaulting through it to get a hit on it, because they're already through the window when it's getting blocked. That's some of the problems with the perk. It's the perk effect. Now, top it off, it's a Hex perk. Hex perks in general are generally weaker than a normal perk, mainly due to the fact that they can be broken, and they can be very easily broken, being as it seems like totem spawns aren't changing, and it seems like, at least just a feeling from me playing, because my RNG is trash, that they turned up the spawn for bad spawns for killer. Like, they increased the chance of totems spawning next to gens. It feels like they did, at least. It could have not, but it's just my luck. So that's just my feeling. So these break instantly. This perk is nowhere near worth being a Hex perk. The fact that it's a Hex perk makes this perk really, really, really bad. Now, if Hex perks, which I'm going to be saying each time we do one of these Hex perks all the way up until Undying, because it's the same balance issue. Survivors can replace their boon totems. Killers should be able to replace their Hex totems. Until either survivors can't replace their boon totems or killers can replace their Hex totems, these perks are bad, because they just break so quickly, or they get cleansed so quickly, because they're in bad spawns, they're in loops, they're facing generators, they're next to survivors when they spawn. The amount of times I've spawned next to the killer's Hex totem and broke it in the first 20 seconds of the match, getting rid of one of the killer's perks, is insane. It's retarded. Changes I would make to this. First off, if it's still going to be a Hex perk, and the thing of Hex perks needs to change. Hexes need to be replaceable. They can still be cleansed, broken, keeping it so the killer can't replace them, which makes it so the survivor has to play a risk versus reward. Do I keep this totem up so I can keep replacing my boon totems? Do I or do I smash it? If I keep it up, I can replace my boon totems, but the killer can keep replacing their Hex totems. But it's, yes, giving the killer the ability to replace their Hex totem is good, but it still is going to waste a lot of time for the killer to refine the totem and replace the totem. Even if they have it as a speed of Penamento, where it's instant and it replaces it, You still have to get to the totem, remember where the totem was, go to the totem, relight it, then find a new survivor, then chase them. Honestly, if either of them should have a replaceable totem, it should be Killer and not Survivor. Survivors can waste more time than Killer can placing a totem. Going to a totem and replacing it and still win. Killer's using that time to find a totem and replace it more time than any, especially if they're playing against good survivors. They don't really have that time unless they're going past a totem as they're chasing a survivor. And even an instant place like a pen memento can cause the survivors to have a very high distance progressed, especially if they already had distance on you. So, Hex Crowd Control specifically either needs to be replaceable, like the Hex mechanic should be, or make it not a Hex totem. This perk isn't strong enough to not be a Hex totem. It's not, especially with the amount of loops, and especially since some maps don't really have that many vaults. So you can just get a map that crowd control doesn't do much. So not only can you lose a perk that won't do much, the perk won't do much. Since crowd control doesn't block pallets, it only blocks windows. You could another change. You could make it so that also blocks pallets. Once you vault over the pallet, it blocks it, and you can't vault it again for 20 seconds. Which, on a very powerful loop, you could possibly get away with it. Just keep getting looped for 20 seconds, vault it. Eventually, with Bloodlust 3, the killer would get you on God pallets, but you can still kind of get one or two jumps over on a God pallet. So, is this perk good? No. Is this perk worth getting? No. Trickster as a killer isn't even worth getting. He's not god-awful, but he's not good. So, if you guys have any ideas, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.